Hi, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. My name's Anthony Amunategui, and I'm here to inspire people to find amazing careers in the construction development world. If you like our podcast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really like our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Ben, welcome to the show. I'm always excited to have you on. You know, it's you and I in pre-show got to talk about a lot of different topics, and today promises to be a great discussion.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
You know, I got a chance to look into your past, and you certainly know a lot about siding and the materials that people are using. But I think it's even more important is to really start to understand, how did little Ben become a big contractor, right? Like, how did that happen? Where did you come from? What was it, what kind of inspired you to do this? What was that path look like?
Definitely not something that was on my list in my high school career planning class to be on a roof or do siding. But when that opportunity came, the way it came about is I was asked to help on a roofing project. On that project, the guy who hired me was fired, and essentially at the end of that first house, I became the crew lead, and I had no idea what I was doing. We were nailing toe boards through the shingles, and we broke a window. It was just a total disaster. But my future business partner, he was on vacation at the time, and the contractor's like, "Hey, you're going to go out to the site. You're going to meet this guy named Ben. He has no idea what he's doing. He needs help." And so Matt came out there and helped me, and we ended up getting that project done, but eventually graduated to siding and putting siding on the wall. And once we started our business, the tough thing at that time was kind of differentiating yourself. Everybody was selling vinyl siding, vinyl windows. It was just a commodity. Like, who had the lowest price was a customer selection. And so we got into the James Hardie siding, the fiber cement, in 2000, and that's what really kind of changed the trajectory of our business.
You know, that I think, you covered a lot of stuff in there. I look back, and I never really realized, first of all, I was going to be an accountant. I never thought about being a construction guy. I went to school to be an accountant. I was going to be, business administration. I thought I was going to be a broker. And, I had worked my way through school as painting houses. In Florida, it's easy. I could rent a pressure cleaner, and I could go down the street and I could clean roofs. They'd get all moldy from that. And it was like a way to make a buck, right? Sure. Our friend and I, we could rent a pressure cleaner for $50. We could do 2 roofs for $200. And we both went home with $100 a piece. And, it kind of worked out. It was like $100 as a kid. That was a fortune. And then we figured out how to do more of that and do some sidewalks. And then one day someone said, "Hey, you want to paint our roof?" And, I said, "Sure, we'll do it. You buy the paint, we'll do it for $500. And the two of us thought we made $500 in a day. We're like, this is amazing, right? And we had our shorts on, we had no safety, nothing. We were up there with not even shoes on. We'd up there barefoot. We didn't want to get our shoes painted.
Right.
So you don't even know, like all of a sudden you did it out of there, and just we kept moving forward, right? And I think what you said is great. You just start to notice, all right, how many customers beat you out because of price, right? And you go, I gotta find something that differentiates me from the other guys. And what is that? And then you find James Hardie siding.
Well, and that time we were both pretty young. I was 19 when we started the business, and my business partner was 22. And so to go in to a house and, ask a 65-year-old couple to give me a $20,000 down payment, I think there was just some natural like, well, you may know how to do the work, but, do I really trust that you've got the business acumen to make sure at the end of the job that there's still a business? And so we went up against that a little bit, but, that first meeting that we had with James Hardie after we had done this project with the material and kind of realized that that's where we wanted to go with our business. I remember James Hardie presented it to join the preferred remodeler program. It was $750 at that time. And that was a big deal. But we had a corporate board meeting and ate at a local restaurant and ate some chicken wings, and we're like, all right, well, here we go. Let's do this. We're gonna be a little shy on our meal budget this week, but let's give it a shot and see what happens. And it turned out to be a great decision.
So you take the big leap, right? You're young, you can afford to take risk, right? I mean, it's and by the way, I think we say that when we're young, it's easier. I say we always got to do it, right? It's always taking
Yep.
that spot in business where we're moving forward. Sometimes I get lazy and I'm like, do I have to continue to evolve? But the truth is, everywhere I want to grow, everything I want to do is right on the other side of scaring the crap out of myself. It's like literally right on the other side of, all right, I like coming to Chicago. I was a little redneck kid in Florida, and we got into a commercial painting thing, and we were painting a Banana Republic, and that contractor built these things called discovery zones. And he goes, "Hey, you want to come paint a discovery zone for me?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he nailed me on the price. I mean, he took advantage of us on the price. But I got the project, and I figured out how to do it faster because I underbid the thing. But the project manager was there, and he saw what I was doing, and he's like, "Hey, kid, you're pretty good at this. You're faster than anybody's ever seen do this, and your price is really great. How do you do it?" I go, "Well, I figured out if you take all the duct work out in the parking lot and you spray it out there before they put up in the air, it's a lot easier to paint than, and once they screw it up there, all I had to do is go touch it up. It was a lot faster." I mean, they're like, "Yeah," and the guy's like, "That's genius." I go, "No, no, no. First of all, it was survival. It was
Right.
it was Florida. One, I was broke. I had underbid the project, but two, in Florida, every 5 feet you go up closer to that roof, the ceiling, it's like Hades up there.
Yeah.
You're a young kid. You're like, I don't want to be up in the air painting in Hades. So, like, all of a sudden, those little things you don't know when you're going into it, but somehow if you keep working, those lucky things happen. And a project manager invites you to come to Chicago for a cost. Like, you take that risk with James Harding, and James Hardy, sorry, and you spend the $750, and now you're in a course. Tell me
Right.
how that went.
So the Hardy story at that time, I mean, there was nobody doing it, especially not on the remodeling side. I think the story is that the first pallet that came to Minneapolis sat at the lumberyard for a year, and then the lumberyard called Hardy and was like, "You got to come pick this up. Like, I don't know what to do. I can't sell this stuff." So we started slow. One of the guerrilla marketing tactics we had was we just tried to stay busy. If we didn't have a job lined up, we tried to stay busy doing something, whether it was rollerblading and passing out flyers. This particular project, winter, it was unworkable type of weather, 20 below. So we took a bunch of siding and we cut it up and then got stickers made up and put those on the back of the back of the siding, started stuffing mailboxes. And we actually had a guy hold on to that for 3 years, and he was using it as a hot plate beside his stove. And then he finally called and ended up siding his house.
But you kept moving, you kept trying, right? I mean,
Right.
I think that's the thing that people forget is that there's always something to do. There's never a time when, if you have an idea or want to get it, sitting there worrying about it does you no good, right? You got to just, even dumb ideas or ideas that work. And even if they don't work today, they're going to, 3 years from now, when a guy flips over his hot plate and goes, "Hey, I want to get my house sided." Now it's working, right? It's always hard work and luck seem to be right next to each other.
Well, I think, you learn something about the process too. Like even an idea that doesn't work, you've gone through that process. You've been able to learn along the way. And if all you learn is that, yellow pages are really expensive and don't work that great, you learn that lesson, you're not going to do it again. And so I think there's something to be said for, just the process of going through, even if it's an idea that doesn't end up working.
I mean, and not just that, you learn faster, right? You make a decision to do it one way or another, and you find out that that's the wrong way, but you find out faster, right? And sitting there in indecision does nothing but tear you up. And I always say, just make. I get paid every day. People ask me, now that companies are where they are, and I have all these people that work, what do you do all day? My job is to make a decision. People walk in my
Mhm.
office all day with a question. My job is a yes or no, or black or blue, this one or that one. I make the decision. People are like, how do you know? I'm like, I don't always know, but I know that if I have to make a call right now, that somehow or another, if I don't make this call, everybody's going to waffle. And even if I make the wrong call, we'll find out faster than we would have done if we would have gone through analysis paralysis and all the stuff that we go through. And like you said, we learn something. We learn, well, what didn't work. There's some benefit out of it. Hey, don't use the yellow pages. Try it this way. There's always some gift out of this failure part of it. I kind of look at it and go, all right, we all learned something through that process.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And with the James Hardy, as we got further into it, we realized that people were looking for something else. One of the common things I like to say is, nobody says, I love my vinyl siding. I just love my vinyl siding. It's so great, right? It's cost. It's, everybody else, they don't know that there's another option out there. And so as we started exploring that path, we found out there was an appetite for something that looked like wood, but you didn't have the same maintenance issues associated with wood. And so we ran with that. Hardy, we grew with Hardy, and eventually, when they started tracking jobs, and they had a president's club that they promoted, and in 2015, we were the top remodeling contractor in the nation, and have had that, been a part of that president's club ever since they had that. So
That's
it's been a great ride.
right, that's the ride, right? All you get into it, and for sure, I talk to entrepreneurs every day, and one of the things I really notice is that our economy is at a spot right now where for 150 plus years we have no war here. People are doing I'm here. No one's ever got more cash than they need because we're always Americans. We need more, but
Right.
they're looking for that differentiating factor. They're looking for that life experience or the product in their home or the thing they can do in life that's a little bit of an upgrade. People want to walking into a James Hardy siding house. It feel you walk into that house. It's like walking into a beautiful car that you love, right? I mean, I can get a cheap car that I like, right? Or it's economical or it's gas. But when I bought a Tesla back in 2018, and my wife's like, you just want to, I'm like, I bought it. But every time I walk up to that car, I love it. Like I like it. It makes me happy. I
Yeah.
the same thing about your house. When you do a house with a hardy siding, like all of a sudden it differentiates itself from the other houses on the block. People get that you've done something that's really stands out.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I first fell in love with this business is, as we were siding one of those first houses with James Hardy, and when you're done, you look at it, you're like, wow, that's actually one of the things I miss the most from installing, is being able to be done with that house and say, wow, that this place looks awesome. And to your point, when a house goes on the market, I don't think I've really seen in there, beautiful vinyl siding, but you see beautiful James Hardy in the listing of some of these homes. And so it's been great at, I think there's one thing about differentiating yourself with a product, but then becoming the expert in that product as well, because now, there's a lot of guys doing Hardy siding, but the difference is that they'll go into the house and they'll say, I don't care what you pick. I got vinyl, I got steel, I've got LP Smart Side, Hardy, whatever you want, instead of saying, no, this is the right choice for your house, and then being able to explain those reasons why.
As you become the expert, that's the something I hear continuously with great entrepreneurs is that they are the subject matter experts. They know not just the material, the way it goes on, the proper application for it, the why the product is so great. They study it, right? You become a master of the product, and and that itself becomes an art.
We do a couple of trade shows. One's the Minnesota State Fair, which is just ridiculous. They run 2 million people through the state fair. It's 12 days of hell sometimes, but you get to talk to all kinds of people, and we have what we call the table of truth, where we line up all the different sidings, all the different warranties. I've got little jars full of the actual ingredients of James Hardie siding, the cellulose, the sand, the cement, so that people can hold it. And that is a little bit more than if somebody had just got one of those turnstile displays that they ordered from the manufacturer. Just showing that level of detail and being able to explain to people, letting them touch and feel and see that, that's the difference between somebody who does James Hardie once in a while and somebody who's built their company around it.
No, it's great. And what's neat about James Hardie's the different types of products they have. They're the all the different aspects. I mean, you can go with with the lap siding, but the single side, that's with the singles,
Shingles. Yep.
I mean, those are flipping beautiful. They're it's a really beautiful design when you're done. And I even saw some vertical panels you guys have.
Yeah, they've got vertical panels. They've come out with their Aspire line, where they've got a V groove and then like a nickel gap. It's a thicker type of siding. Their latest product, it's not here in Minnesota yet, but it's a more of a stucco kind of look, but a sanded texture. I mean, there's some really cool applications. Basically anything you can do with wood, they've got a product for it. And for most people walking by, they're not going to think that it's not wood, except for when the woodpecker goes up to it, he breaks his beak.
And you're not out there painting and scraping every
Right.
couple of years. And that's the problem with it. Wood's always so beautiful. You go up into those beautiful homes up in the Northeast, and all those. But the problem with it was all the maintenance you had to go with it. Right? It was great for the first couple of years, but now I have to go back out there and scan and scrape and all the stuff that goes along with it. I think as amazing as the product is that you do, I really want to touch more about your experience in running a business, right? I think that's you know, I can, when we talk to you guys, we get your expertise in Hardie siding. It boils, it comes out of your skin. You guys are the subject matter experts on it. I get that. I think the part that's also, for those folks, those young guys, our young people out there that are just getting into the business, and we're really trying to, for me, I'm always trying to inspire them to look at construction. A lot of folks kind of went away from the business and went into all these other things, computers and other spots. But construction to me has served me and my family and you and your family really, really well. Right. I mean, it's got this amazing, this growth opportunity that's coming at us right now with the number of homes that are getting built, what's happening, even with the economy going where it's going. We're going to see our homes double in the number of homes in the next couple of years.
Yeah. And I think, as you look at people that got out of the business, it can be an all consuming business. I mean, it really can. And it did for me. When we, in 2014, I bought my business partner out, and that was a great transitional period for me to be able to implement some technology, to be able to create that repeatable process that we wanted for every job, and to have some sort of accountability built into that system so that we know when those things aren't happening. And so that exercise that we did in that winter of 2014 was crucial. And I think trying to get the space and the time to do that is what some business owners lack. They're chasing their tail a lot. It's just, because they're trying to keep up, because it's just, they don't have time or maybe even the know-how to even to do that.
I talk to entrepreneurs that are successful and those that are not successful, and there's kind of a commonality to them, right? Focus, right? Their ability to focus on what they're doing, right? As we go through the ebbs and tides of a business, there are distractions, right? Here, by the way, most of them are in my own life, right? As I grow as a man, I go through, I went through, moving to Chicago. I went through one company letting me go, and another company, the ebbs and tides of the different experiences that I had. And then, same thing happens in business, right? There's years when I was doing great, and there's years when I personally wasn't doing great. Those were my low years. and my business felt it, right? The business felt it. And today I can look back and I can really see signs of what made it successful and what didn't, right? What continues to make it successful. And a lot of it has to do with the things that I focus on, right? As I look at the business and at my behaviors, for me, business is all the business that we have, they're all the same. It's about expanding and then organizing. But what's that little piece right between the two of those, right? There's a little piece right between, you expanded, now things are getting a little hectic, and then but now you have to organize, but there's something right between there. What happens, right?
Yeah. So we actually, in our 3 and 5 year plans would build in these plateau years. And so we would have a growth year, and figure out where those pinch points were, where those gaps were, either whether it be staffing or technology, or process, what we needed to do to fix those areas, so that when we started growing again, we didn't feel, that pain that we were as we were growing. And I think, everybody's pushing for more dollars and more product, and the manufacturer's reps are, okay, you got this last year, what are you going to do this year? And to say, what, we're going to probably be about flat. But what we found during doing that a few times is that the revenue might stay stagnant, but you made more money. The profit was up. And at the end of the day, if you can do the same amount of jobs and make more money, that's a win. And learn something at the same time, and that's a win in my book.
Absolutely. And knowing that, having the foresight to see that, right? Having the ability to look at it and go, all right, this year I'm not chasing more work. I'm chasing the same work, but now we're going to really start working on processes, dial them in a little bit better, get a little bit smarter about how we order, a little smarter how we deliver, a little smarter about how we schedule, a little bit smarter about when we start and turn over projects, so that how do we make that time space faster, right? So we can get in and out, make more money, same project, but we make money faster because we're not there as long. We're not there as, we don't, it's the 100 trips to Home Depot or things I forgot, or it's back to supply house that kill every great project.
Yep.
Or the go backs. Right? Oh, we're missing one more board, a 6-inch board or something. Now you have to send a crew back, and inevitably, oh, that paint didn't match the. We went and fixed that. But now the paint doesn't match, and now it's another go back. And if I can get it in and get out, that becomes the secret. And I look at some of the brands that we build, and people get all excited about building the first one of the brands that we do. I say, no, you want to get excited about building 150 of them without much drama, right? The faster we can build these in and out, to get in and out, the faster that and I don't mean just for speed's sakes, but how do we get in there and have that the repeatable process that we dial in every single time? And that's that part of organized, right? That part of, being able to understand my material selections, my deliveries. There's some projects that we don't want to do because they just don't fit our formula, right? When we do those, there's some one-off projects here at CDO Group we just don't do. There's other people who chase one-off projects all day long. For us, it's all about repeatable clients that have the same, very similar type of layout, so that our people get really great at them. Our our estimators estimate them the same. Our project managers, buy them out the same. Our coordinators know how to get all of the material and equipment, and utility companies, because those clients want to set up the exact same every single time. We understand all the owner supplied vendors. And it becomes a repeatable process where our people become the best in class for the client, where when they have deliveries, our people really dial in the communication with each vendor. So we're not calling them janking their chain all day long because we forgot something. We're the contractor who can tell you our schedule for that vendor for a year, right? Because we know all the projects we have. We can look at a year ahead of us and go, look, we always want delivery on this day of these projects. We're so dialed into it. And then we're giving those people such a great runway that we're not calling them the next day going, I need it now. Oh, we forgot. Oh, and most of the other calls we get every day are that drama, and aren't that way. Even their delivery guys show up. We're like, hey, look, why don't you have a cup of coffee across the street? And we have a crew here that's going to unload your truck. And we have a parking spot for them. Our superintendents know they're coming. It becomes this feeling that you have that you're showing up at one of our job sites. We're at one of those CDO job sites. It feels professional. and it becomes the project where those vendors want to go to, as opposed to the ones where are all hectic and they get there and they're not ready for them. And there's, they're a week off, or there's, someplace that they're supposed to be, but they're not today. So it becomes kind of a pain in the neck.
Yeah, and I think, when you talk about those one-off projects, one of the things that we did is build in a project minimum. And that at the time, coming from stuff rollerblading and stuffing mailboxes to passing on projects, that was a tough thing.
Tough.
But if you look, say, take a window project, for example, the same amount of work goes into on the prep side, 20 windows as it does for 2 windows. You got to go out there, you got to quote it, you got to present the quote, you have to do the measure, you have to get the windows ordered, the casing, all those steps are still there. The quantities are just different, and the revenue or the profit that's built into that. So, that was tough for, especially some of the sales guys and, our inside staff to tell people, what, we do have a project minimum. And I was surprised at, how upset some of the people that we talked to got. We actually got a couple bad reviews, like, our project isn't good enough for this company. We try to explain it's not that. It's just the way our business is structured. It doesn't make sense for us to do that. It's a business decision. And we just, we know that that's not a good project for us.
Oh, here, I love that. Here, I love that bad review. All of a sudden you're looking and going, really? Really? Because you got up every single day for the last how many umpteen years I've had to run this business, and realize that I can't do your project well. There are companies out there that can. They don't have this level of team. They don't have this level of group. Those, look, there's plenty of back of the truck guys that can do that, a couple of windows for you way better than we can, right? Yep. And I'm sorry, but we can't, because here, either that or the amount we have to charge you, you're not going to be happy with. So either you're a little upset with me today, or you're going to hate me tomorrow. I'd rather tell you the truth, and we'll work it out, because forever you'll know that I was a man of my word. And there's some clients I just can't, we just can't do well. And somewhere in learning that, right, it doesn't feel like, sometimes I give myself a little shame for that. I'm like, hey, I want to be everything for everybody, but the truth is I can't. There's not enough time in the day. Our systems aren't structured that way. And you start to really notice that. And bravo for you for getting that. As when you're young, you take everything until you learn those parts that work. And when you're young, you got to get away with it. You don't have anything in place, so everything makes sense. And as you start to kind of refine a little bit more, and you go, okay, all right, we're gonna get smarter and smarter at this. And by the way, some young guy is going to come by and they're going to revolutionize the business and make 2 windows and 102 windows process even smarter. You see it in every business out there. Somebody's going to make custom. The guy who can make custom T-shirts in 15 minutes, broke the mold from the companies that used to have to print hundreds of them, right? So I look forward to that, and bravo to that young person that does that, and or the new person that comes into the business and reinvents how to do that well, and create a business that goes that way. So if you're young and you're a young person out there, that's the thing to go do. Is there's nothing that can't be done if you really sit down and look at it and start to really dive into the process and figure out how to structure it so that 2 windows or 102 windows will work.
Yeah, and I think more companies in our space need to say no. You see a lot of even bigger companies, they start off siding and windows, then they add baths, and then they add kitchens, and then they add porches, and pretty soon they've lost what got them to where they were at, and then you don't see them anymore. And I don't know how many times I've seen that play out. Again, it's growth, but growth without a plan and growth without a way to get this work produced is just a recipe for failure.
We see it all the time. I did a brand called Boston. Originally, it was Boston Chicken, right? When I was young, I was, 24 years old. It was after Discovery Zone. I went to work for Boston Chicken, and when I started with them, it was Boston Chicken, and they were a home dinner replacement. and they had little tiny stores or little tiny places, and you went in, you got dinner, and that's it. And then as we were there, they said, well, we could add in these carvers, and we can make sandwiches. Oh, we can open for lunch. Great. And then they're like, oh, great, we can do holiday hams, and now we can do holiday hams, and now we can add holiday hams. And while we were building faster than anybody had built in the history of the world, I mean, we were building that brand so fast. I mean, it was lightning speed. I believe that in construction, we can go pretty fast. We have system processes, we can make that happen. The problem was we couldn't find great people to operate them that fast. And while you're looking for all those teams, and at the same time, you're growing the menu items, you can see where those failure points came up, and, service lacked. And what was great about that home replacement, which it felt homemade, right? You walked into a Boston Chicken and you could smell it. They became Boston Market, and it had all these other ideas. And I think to your point, there's always somebody back in the office that has this bright idea. We're going to make more money if we sell more things. And it's not always true. Sometimes it's going back to what you said before. How about we slow down, sell less things, but sell them better, right? I mean, Apple phone is a perfect example of that, right? They showed up with, the phone did 10 things. You had a picture, it had a calculator, it had a thing for your music, and a phone, and it did those things first really, really, really well. And then they said, well, we'll put an app store there. And those of you that want to work off of our really, really well run phone, you could do that. And, and that was the baseline for making it work. But they focused on making a really sleek phone that worked real well. So I think that's something that it's a great example for us and for people out there to look at and go, all right, I don't need to be everything to everybody. Simplifying it makes it maybe a little smarter way of looking at it.
Well, and spreadsheets are great, but they don't help you on the job site. They don't help you forecast gaps in labor. There's lots of things that I can say that look great on a spreadsheet, and then you take it to the guys and they're like, no way. Like, we're not doing that. And I think sometimes, like, oh, we can squeeze out dollars here, we can squeeze out dollars here if we sell this many more jobs, but how much more staff do you need to get those jobs done? How many more vehicles, all that overhead, those fixed costs. And that's what the technology that we have, this CRM that we implemented, has really allowed us to do more with less people, to be able to stretch and scale without adding a bunch more people to the process.
Technology is the key, right? That's literally the key to it, is leaning onto those technology pieces where you lower the amount of staff you have to carry to do the same work. Before I run out of time, I want to talk a little bit. I'm gonna go back to the Hardy side of it. I wanted to get to know your business a little bit more and get to know you, and I can really tell the growth of what you've done. And we'll have you on the show some more. But I wanted to kind of go back to James Hardy, because one of the things we didn't talk about, and it's really, I think, important, is the why'd you guys pick it, right? The benefits of why'd you pick that over siding? And I know it's a different look, but what does it mean to your business to represent Hardy siding?
Well, I honestly believe that James Hardy is the best product for Minnesota homes. And so that comes through when we're talking to our homeowners. You talk about like woodpeckers, in Minnesota, it's kind of a big deal. There are woodpeckers destroying cedar siding. Minnesota, we have a rough climate. It goes from 30 below, and then on Sunday it's supposed to be 96 and humid. That is a giant temperature swing. We get a lot of rain. We get snow. I'm not sure, if there's a more extreme climate in the lower 48. And so your siding needs to be able to withstand all those different elements, and James Hardy does it the best. And since they've integrated their Color Plus line about 10-15 years ago, they finish all the siding at their factory. So you have these great colors to choose from. It's baked on at the factory under perfect conditions. Sorry about the lack of field painting there for you, Anthony. You don't get to get that one, but but it just, it comes out, it's done, and we're replacing our way out of a job, because we're not going to be able to reside those homes again. But it's the best siding for Minnesota home, and it's nice when you really believe in a product that you're selling. That's why, again, we've built our business around it.
I mean, having a product, that is that kind of warranties. You guys, I saw a 30-year warranty on your brochures.
Yeah, and it's 30 years, but it's non-prorated. So, most warranties, there might be lifetime or 50-year, but you start digging into the nuts and bolts of it, it's prorated, and it gets down after 10 years, it's 10% of the original purchase price, that kind of thing. That's why we lay out the warranties side by side at our trade shows. So you can actually see, with things highlighted, you can see, okay, this is where 30 years is better than 50 year. And people look at you like, what? Like, well, you got to read these warranties. You can't just say a lifetime warranty. Okay, well, what does that mean? Like, well, what does lifetime warranty mean?
Well, I can guarantee you with this kind of, this kind of passion for the product, this kind of love for what you do, I warranty that your success is there. I mean, there's always going to be easy days, but right when we love what we do to this level, even the bad days aren't so bad, right? We're gonna have them. Look, there's some days I get up, I don't even like myself, so I'm gonna have bad days. I'm gonna, their life is guaranteed. Life is going to have them. My wife and I always laugh. We've been together. We're getting ready to celebrate an anniversary here this week and go away for vacation. But marriage hasn't always been great, right? There's been days when you look at it like you're not going to have a perfect life. And for those of us that think that life's going to be perfect, good luck with that one. See how long that lasts. But same thing happens with business, right? But when we have something that's worth loving, right? When we have something that's a business that we're really excited about, when we put a product out there that we really stand behind, that I can feel it, then at the end of it, it's, the bad days aren't so bad. Right. It takes a little bit off of that. And the good days kind of are just a little bit sweeter. And brother, I can feel your love for this business. You got a great book on it. That's what got me here with you. And I'm excited about having you on more and more over the years as you continue to develop this, your passion for this business. And I'm really grateful to have you on.
Sounds great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Well, great. As people want to get a hold of you, where are they going to get a hold of you?
So our website's probably the best resource, craftsmanschoice.com. And then my book's on Amazon, the Minnesota Homeowner's Guide to Exterior Siding. Probably not a great read if you just resided your house or you have a stucco house, but what we found with the book is that it's great. Most people don't, they only reside their home once in their lifetime, if that. And so it's great about helping them to identify that process and gives them some tips along that way.
I think your book is a great read for anybody that's looking at siding, no matter where they are in the country, where in the world. It's definitely an expert's guide to siding. Great book, and read. It's an easy read. It's pretty quick. So, Ben, I am grateful to have you on. We'll put all the links to it down below. And as always, guys, thanks for listening. And if you could take a second right now and just hit like and subscribe for me, it just really gives us some great feedback that we're doing the right thing, and it just means the world. So if you got a second, do that now for us. And we'll look forward to having you on again. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony Amunategui, always looking for people to bring insight into the industry, finding ways to inspire people to have amazing careers in the development world. If you liked our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really liked our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Thanks again for listening. Please share it with your friends.